Still balling? Okay. California Love? Thug Life songs? Okay. Tupac Shakur was, and probably still will be considered this forever, the greatest rapper to ever live. The greatest lyricist, the greatest poet, and an all-around really good person. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a reenactment of the final moments of Tupac's life.
Where's the volume thing on the...
Sorry. Tupac Amaru Shakur was born June 16, 1971 in New York City. As of today, he sold over 75 million records. The only other artist to accomplish this is Eminem. He later went by stage names of Tupac, spelled with the number 2, and then Pac, and also Machiavelli right before he died. He was wounded by multiple gunshots on September 7th of 1996, and later died on September 13th. The main reason that a lot of people feel, well, before I start, how many people, what do you guys think why Tupac died? What do you guys, does anybody think he's still alive? Who thinks he's still alive? Show of hands. Still alive? Anyone? No? Okay. You guys think he was just killed by chance? Killed by a gang war? Killed because of the lyrics in his music? Anybody? Come on.
Was that an Orlando Anderson thing? Or,
Okay. All right, Orlando Anderson. All right. Anyone else?
Got into a fight with the wrong person.
Okay. Okay. Well, before we go into that, before Tupac died, there was a lot of issues within Death Row Records, which was his label, which was owned by Marion Suge Knight, who we also just saw in the last video. It's been said that Tupac had stressed disappointment with the record label and how it was going to his group, the Outlaws, which were his friends who he had grown up with and brought to the rap scene with him. He wanted to start his own record label called Machiavelli Records, and he wanted to leave Death Row, which was a problem for a lot of people. A couple weeks before he got killed, Tupac got to a fight with a producer at Death Row Records studio over master tapes. Master tapes are basically the old style cassettes that, you know, the big wheels that turn, have the big tapes on them, that have the original music recorded on them. This is very important to keeping because it lets you have the rights to the music, it lets you redistribute the music, produce it, change it, do everything you want to it. So if you have those, no one else can get your music, especially in 1996. Now it's a little bit different. Death Row owed Tupac $13 million at the time of his death. This was just the start of Death Row's financial issues. They were moving towards bankruptcy. They were unable to pay employees, people were leaving, and in 2007, when they filed for bankruptcy again, they were in debt $105 million. It's a lot of money when you're a record label because those CDs that you've been selling usually would bring in a lot of money. On September 4th, a couple days before his death, Tupac's bodyguards, Frank Alexander, witnessed an argument between Suge and Tupac in a hotel room. At this time, Tupac told Suge Knight that he was leaving Death Row Records and that he was going to do his own thing and basically screw you, go to hell. And Suge Knight, a big guy, into his money, wasn't probably too happy about that. He was Death Row's most successful artist. A couple other artists they had was Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg at the time. But Tupac was their best-selling and most famous artist. Tupac security was kind of an intertangled web of different people. There was a company called Right Way Security, which was owned by a man named Reggie Wright Jr. This was based in Las Vegas, actually, which is where Tupac was killed. They also had various police officers on their payroll list, including LVPD. So what that meant basically was they had people who were police officers paid by them when they were off duty to be their security guards, which means they have people who are into the police departments who can do whatever they want within the police department. Frank Alexander and a man named Michael Moore were Tupac's permanent bodyguards that were employed by Right Way Security, but they had become Tupac's friends over time. So it was more of a friend thing rather than they were just being paid to watch him. And both of the bodyguards carried handguns for protection while they were with Tupac. Bodyguards of Right Way Security on the night of the shooting were told that they weren't going to be carrying weapons to the Mike Tyson fight that Tupac was to be attending. They weren't going to either carry their Nextel radios as well. Michael Moore, the second bodyguard, objected, saying that it was his weapon and nobody was going to tell him that he couldn't carry it, and he was going to carry it regardless. As a consequence of this, Michael Moore was removed from watching Tupac that night, leaving only Frank Alexander, one bodyguard, to watch Tupac in Las Vegas at a very prime opportunity for something to happen. The Orlando Anderson brawl, like Dr. Gibson was saying, after the Tyson fight, was at the MGM Grand Hotel, was the Tyson fight. It started at 8 p.m. on September 7th of 1996. The fight only lasted 109 seconds. Mike Tyson knocked out Bruce Seldon pretty quickly. Upon leaving the casino, Tupac was verbally harassed by a known Compton Crip named Orlando Anderson. And in this video you see this is Tupac right there. There's Suge Knight, and Orlando Anderson is somewhere on the ground within the mass maraud of people getting beaten to hell. Tupac was instigated by verbal attacks from Anderson. Nobody knows what was said, but Orlando Anderson was a Compton Crip who had attacked a man named Trevon Lane, who was a member of Death Row's entourage. He had done that a couple months before. He was from LA. They were in Las Vegas. Really no reason for him to have been there. It was kind of just he was there for no reason. But Tupac did leave before security was called. And nothing happened from that. Orlando Anderson chose not to press charges. After the fight, they were going to be going to a place called Club 662, which was a nightclub owned in part by Death Row Records. Tupac returned to his hotel room. He was picked up by Suge Knight in a black BMW 750, which you saw in the video, and they were making their way. Frank Alexander, the only Tupac bodyguard who was on call that night, was told to drive in a separate car. He said, I'll take Pac, don't worry about it. Go in another car so we can, bring girls back to the hotel room, and if outlaws want to drink, you can drive them, it'll be okay. Suge's car was stopped at 11:10 p.m. by LVPD bicycle cops for playing their music too loud and for not having a license plate, and they were let go, which is another odd coincidence because usually if a car doesn't have a license plate, it's not going to be let go. But they were let go very quickly without a citation. This is the last picture of Tupac known to be taken before he died. There you see Suge driving, Tupac passenger seat, and that was at a stoplight somewhere in Las Vegas. At approximately 11:15 p.m., a white four-door Cadillac pulled up to the passenger side of the BMW at a red light in the intersection of Flamingo and Cobalt. 13 shots were fired into the passenger side of the car from a .40 caliber Glock, such as this one right here, and 4 of the 13 rounds struck Tupac. 2 in the chest, 1 in the thigh, and 1 in the hand. Here's the intersection of Flamingo and Cobalt. This is the layout of how it was the night that Tupac was killed. Here we have Tupac and Suge in this car. The bodyguard and the outlaws here. Random ladies who Tupac was said to be flirting with at the time of the shooting. Trevon Lane's car, who was an associate of Death Row, and the lead car, who was another entourage member. Usually the lead car would be Suge and Tupac. So as you can see right now, the killer would have the perfect opportunity to block Tupac in. There was a perfect route to come up to the side, kill Tupac, leaving them nowhere to go, and fleeing the scene very quickly. Here's some pictures of Pac's car after the shooting. As the